Karen stomped on a military medal at the parade, got charged with vandalism and assault. What drives a person to desecrate a symbol of sacrifice in front of a cheering crowd? The sun blazed over the annual Memorial Day parade in Willow Creek, a small town where flags fluttered and veterans marched in crisp, proud steps. Families lined the streets, children waving miniature stars and stripes, their faces painted with joy. Among them stood Karen Whitaker, her arms crossed, lips pursed, her eyes scanning the procession with a flicker of disdain. To the townsfolk, she was just Karen, sharp-tongued, always ready with a complaint, the woman who'd argue with a cashier over a penny's change. But today, her actions would ripple far beyond her usual outbursts, unraveling lives and exposing truths no one saw coming. Karen hadn't always been this way. Once, she was a young dreamer, sketching wildflowers in her notebook, hoping to open a florist shop filled with vibrant Coriniastos resilient, fiery blooms that thrived in harsh conditions. But years of disappointment, a failed marriage, and a string of dead-end jobs had hardened her. Now, at 42, she carried a bitterness that seeped into every interaction. The parade, with its patriotic fervor, irritated her. She saw it as a glorification of war, a spectacle that ignored the pain of those left behind. Her brother, Tommy, had enlisted years ago, full of pride, only to return broken, haunted by memories he'd never share. He'd died quietly in his sleep 3 years prior, and Karen blamed the military for taking him from her. As the parade rolled on, veterans in pressed uniforms passed by, their medals glinting in the sunlight. The crowd roared with applause, but Karen's jaw tightened. She muttered under her breath, "Hypocrites!" Next to her stood Emily, a young mother clutching her son's hand, her eyes misty with pride for her own father, a Vietnam vet marching ahead. Karen's grumbling caught Emily's ear, and she turned, offering a gentle smile. "It's a beautiful day to honor them, isn't it?" Emily said, hoping to bridge the gap. Karen scoffed. "Honor? For what? Sending kids to die for nothing?" Her voice was loud enough to draw stares. Emily's smile faltered, but she said nothing, turning back to the parade. Karen's resentment simmered, her thoughts a tangle of grief and anger. She didn't notice the small, shining object on the ground, a Bronze Star medal, accidentally dropped by an elderly veteran, Mr. Harold Grayson, who'd earned it decades ago in a war he rarely spoke of. The medal lay in the dirt, its ribbon frayed but proud, a quiet testament to sacrifice. Karen's foot hovered over it. She didn't know why she did it. Maybe it was the heat, the crowd's blind adoration, or the ache of Tommy's absence. But she stomped down, hard, grinding the medal into the earth. Gasps erupted. Emily spun around, her face pale. "What are you doing?" she cried, lunging to retrieve the medal. Karen shoved her back, her voice rising. "It's just a piece of metal. You all worship this nonsense." The crowd closed in, murmurs turning to shouts. A young man, Javier, a local barista who'd been filming the parade for his blog, caught the moment on his phone. His footage would later go viral, but not for the reasons he expected. The situation escalated in seconds. Mr. Grayson, frail but fierce, pushed through the crowd, his eyes locking onto the defiled medal. "That's mine," he said, his voice trembling with rage and pain. Karen froze, her defiance wavering for a moment, but then she doubled down. "It's meaningless. You think this makes you a hero?" The words stung like a slap. A police officer, Deputy Clara Evans, stepped in, her face stern. "Ma'am, step back now." But Karen's anger boiled over, and she pushed Emily again, who stumbled into Javier, knocking his phone to the ground. The crowd surged, voices rising in a chaotic chorus of outrage. Clara grabbed Karen's arm, but Karen yanked free, shouting, "You don't get it. None of you do." Before she could say more, Clara restrained her, cuffs clicking around her wrists. The charges came swiftly. Vandalism for the medal, assault for the shove. As Karen was led away, the crowd's cheers for the parade turned to jeers aimed at her. Emily, clutching the soiled medal, handed it to Mr. Grayson, tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. He nodded, his weathered hands trembling as he held the metal close. At the police station, Karen sat in a holding cell, her bravado crumbling. She hadn't meant for things to go this far. It was just a moment of rage, a fleeting act to scream her pain into the world. But the world screamed back. Her lawyer, a tired public defender named Marcus, explained the charges. Vandalism's a misdemeanor, but assault could mean jail time. The medal's a big deal symbolic. The judge won't take it lightly. Karen stared at the floor, her mind replaying Tommy's funeral, the flag-draped coffin, the military salute she'd hated even then. Meanwhile, Javier's video spread online, igniting a firestorm. Hashtags like Karen Disgrace and Respect the Vets trended on X. But Javier, who'd always been quiet, introspective, felt uneasy. He'd known Karen from the coffee shop she tipped generously despite her sharp tongue. Something about her outburst didn't add up. He dug deeper, scrolling through Old Town records and X-posts, uncovering a forgotten story. Tommy Whitaker, Karen's brother, had been a local hero, but his struggles with PTSD were buried under the town's pride. Javier's heart sank. There was more to Karen than the video showed. The trial came a month later, a packed courtroom buzzing with tension. Karen sat silently, her face pale, as the prosecution presented the video. Gasps filled the room as the footage played Karen's foot crushing the metal, her shove against Emily. The prosecutor called it a deliberate act of disrespect to our nation's heroes. Emily testified, her voice shaking, about the medal's importance to her family. Mr. Grayson spoke next, his words heavy with grief. That medal was for my brother who didn't come home. I carried it for him. The room fell silent, the weight of his loss palpable. Karen's defense was weak. Marcus tried to argue her emotional state, mentioning Tommy's death, but the judge, a stern woman named Judge Holloway, seemed unmoved. The crowd outside the courthouse chanted for justice, their signs adorned with carinea flowers, symbols of resilience, now mocking Karen's fall. Javier, sitting in the back, felt a knot in his stomach. He'd shared his findings with Marcus, but it wasn't enough to sway the case. Karen was found guilty. The sentence: 6 months in jail, a fine, and community service. As she was led away, her eyes met Javier's, and for a moment, he saw not anger, but despair. Then came the twist no one expected. Javier, unable to let it go, posted a new video on X, a heartfelt monologue about Karen's untold story. He revealed Tommy's struggles, the VA's failures, and Karen's years of silent caregiving. She wasn't disrespecting veterans, Javier said, his voice cracking. She was screaming for her brother. The video exploded, shifting the narrative. Justice for Karen trended alongside the hate. People began to question. Was Karen a villain, or a victim of her own grief? Karen served her time, but the town never looked at her the same. Some forgave her, leaving carinea flowers at her doorstep when she returned. Others shunned her, their anger unyielding. Emily, torn by guilt, visited Karen one rainy evening, the medal in her hand, cleaned but scarred. I didn't know about your brother, she said softly. Karen nodded, her voice barely a whisper. Nobody did. They sat in silence, two women bound by loss, surrounded by the faint scent of carineias from a vase nearby. The bittersweet truth settled over Willow Creek like dust. Karen's act was wrong, but her pain was real. The town, once united in outrage, faced its own reflection. How many others had they failed to see? Javier's video sparked a local movement for veteran mental health, with carinea gardens planted in Tommy's name. But for Karen, the victory was hollow. She'd lost her brother, her reputation, and her dreams. Standing alone in her small apartment, she touched the petals of a carinea, its fiery resilience a cruel mirror of her own survival. She'd fought, she'd fallen, and she'd risen, but at what cost? ND.